All right, we'll call this Board of Directors meeting to order at 7:05 PM. Board has land acknowledgement and anti-racism statement posted on its website. Roll call tonight. Everyone's here. Adoption of the agenda is the first item. We do have one amendment removing the capital request on the golf course irrigation system. 6D. Is there anyone opposed?
I'd like to amend the agenda if I could. I saw your email about another meeting, but I've asked 3 times to be able to hand out some paperwork for N&E. And I'd like to get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, I was planning on just sending it to Richard in advance, just so the board had his feedback. So I was gonna do that this week. Sorry, I've been a little busy lately, so
I have copies of this for everybody if they want one.
that's fine. You can pass it out. But but yeah, I think it would be easiest if we discussed it maybe next week at the meeting.
Huh?
Email it to me.
I did send it all out in an email once. Didn't get any responses, so.
We're not supposed to have one.
Yeah.
You have one on.
I'm good.
Okay, I'm discounting.
Are you all right if we, people can look it over and we can discuss it next week?
Ask one question.
Sure. Yeah.
Was the contract signed and agreed and done?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I never got a notice of that. Somebody asked me on the N&E committee, was that done? I said, I don't know.
No, that was, I'm sorry, I
Okay.
didn't copy, but it was.
And then I can send these to Richard here tomorrow and have him give any input on it before next week.
Okay.
Does that work?
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Michael.
Hopefully, we're not going to make any changes when we discuss this if you send it to the attorney first.
I'll just, if he has any feedback on it, I'll just provide that feedback and then we can discuss
Still can
changes
discuss.
accordingly if we need to, based on feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I move to approve the adopted agenda then. All those in favor? We have 2 items on the consent agenda. Are there any objections to the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, those are approved. Moving on to announcements. Any announcements?
I guess there's still openings. Is it working? I guess there's still opening.
Have it directly in front of you.
I guess there's still openings for people to volunteer to be on the finance committee and still on ACC. And I noticed there are jobs at the golf course. They got a big sign up that they're hiring for jobs. I don't know where to tell people to go. I've looked all over for the announcements on the website. I think it's under volunteers or something, but yeah.
All the job openings at SVCA are listed on the careers page on the website, which can be found if you scroll down. The left menu, it's at the bottom, it says careers. Michael, it is absolutely correct to volunteer for a committee. Again, on the left-hand menu on the current website, you click on volunteers, and then you'll go to the page where you can submit an application.
Linda?
I'm not sure this is completely accurate, but I understand that the Friends of the South Whatcom Library have moved their proposed jazz festival to Glen Haven. I will try and follow up so that with them to get the exact dates, times, and that sort of thing.
Other announcements? All right, hearing none, we'll move to property owner comments. If anyone wishes to speak, please come to the microphone.
Brian, you got your mic on.
You're upside down.
Anyone running mics in here to mute their mics?
Hello?
Should work now. I think it was Brian's computer.
So is my time up?
Go ahead.
Please sit down.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Where's the hook? Okay, I haven't been to a board meeting, like everybody else for a long time. Last one was a video thing that we had, and I'm not very techie, as you may have noticed if you watched. And I got very frustrated, and I want to apologize to the board and anybody that was there, because it was inappropriate behavior on my part. Moving forward, I'd also like to compliment Joanne for her recent negotiations of the CTK contract, and with Sonia's cooperation and help. I thought that was awesome. Obviously, Jason thought it was, good. But I think it shows me a certain amount of hope in this community, where we can actually disagree on things and yet come together on things that are important to the children, our community, our safety, how we do our business, and a little less like our government, where you got the Democrats over here and the Republicans over here, and they hate each other. The only people that get hurt in situations like that is the public, the people. They're still making all the big bucks. They're getting paid off by the lobbyists and blah, blah, blah. So your guys have put your lives on hold for a while to go through this process. And I've seen it happen in different ways, but I've never seen it as separated as it is now. It's pretty black and white, and it's unfortunate. And again, why I compliment you. Okay, I think that your attitude, that meeting, showed me something that I hadn't seen before. And I apologize if I've ever offended you in the past. Please forgive me. Thank you. As far as other things, I just think, again, it's a pretty simple thing. Learn to, play nice in the sandbox. Keep it in here. Don't take it out on social media. That's where cowards go. They won't face you. They'll go on social media, bite your head off. These things say things that are false, that are lies, and then just kind of go away. So we're having in a difficult time with our entire world. COVID put us back years, and we don't know the damage that it's done because the children aren't running the country that were damaged. So thank you very much for your time, and continue to work together for us.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for that, Chris. I think we need more of those positive comments, and I really appreciate that.
Can I speak as a homeowner?
Yeah.
Mike Wadsworth, 5 Western Lane. As a homeowner and member of the community, I have been kind of meeting or talking with a couple of different people about safety in Sudden Valley, and there's a big concern about natural disaster, forest fire, mudslides, whatever, with all the rain and things that are going around the country. It could happen here. And I said I would encourage the board to get back to the table with the preparedness committee. My brain just went blank. The emergency preparedness committee. And I just don't want to see us do all the improvements we're doing here in the community and then have a fire burn us all out or something and lose less than property, but loss of life or anything. It's really important. Thank you.
Sure.
The microphone because people are having a hard time hearing.
I'm not sure of the exact date, but I think it was 1983. The first week or two in January, we had a huge snowpack in all of Whatcom County, Skagit County. And then we had 58-degree temperatures and torrential rain. There was a 2-year logging operation in the lake, getting logs out of the lake, okay? This community was 100% locked off for several days. Gate 5 had to have emergency vehicles and water brought into them by whoever, and we are not prepared for it. We're not prepared for it. The trees when I got here, the trees were like this. Well, now they're like this. Guess what? This is a road that used to be a fire block. Now it's just a thing. So I think whatever we can do to be proactive, have a plan. If nothing else, just how do we get the hell out of here? Okay. Where do we go to group? You know, is it here? This would be a good spot. Not a lot of trees, not a lot of brush, not a lot of other houses to catch fire here. So do something to, again, a future oriented.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to general manager's report. Go ahead.
Thank you, AJ. March's focus was getting our facilities and programs ready for the warmer weather. As the days get warmer, more and more people start to take advantage of the golf course, parks and trails, and the opening days for the marina and pools get closer. Snow plows have been put away for the season and the mowers are being tuned up. Before we completely turn our attention to the new season, however, we at SBCA are taking time to discuss what worked well in the snow season and what could be improved to inform next year's snow removal plan. Just a side note, this week we got a compliment from the fire department. We were in there talking about some road work that was happening right in front of them. And they came out and they said that they had never seen such a responsive snow removal activity in Sudden Valley. So they were very complimentary. And I think we should all, if we see Mike Brock, pat him on the back. Pool season, to change the subject completely. We're making very strong progress in our preparations for the 2023 pool season. We've identified 14 strong candidates for the lifeguard team. We've negotiated a rental agreement with the Bellingham Bay swim team and are working with the YMCA to again provide swim lessons here in Sudden Valley. At our next board meeting, I hope to share more detailed information with you about the pool schedule and to be able to report that we have finalized all of these agreements that we've been working so hard to negotiate. We did finalize an agreement with David Herrera to provide personal training services and group fitness classes at the Recreation Center. David worked with SVCA pre-COVID, had many happy clients, and we're very pleased to restore that popular service to the fitness center. In a previous report, I listed the installation of a new card reader access system as one of our major technology projects for 2023. That system has been installed and our user data has finally been imported into the system. We're now working to fine-tune the configuration and we're writing reports so that we can track access to the facilities that use the card readers. This includes the rec center, the fitness center within the rec center, RV storage, marina wet slips, and the boat launch. We're still working out these configurations, so some cards may have stopped working. If this happens to you, please let the admin team know and we'll get it fixed right away. The transition of our security systems, which include these card readers, to Guardian Security was begun last year. And this installation completes that project. The advantages of these new systems will now start to be realized. We'll have easier access to camera data, the ability to track card swipes and report on usage, and also the ability to quickly reprogram automatic locks to reflect holidays or other changes in facility schedules. As we adapt our processes to include these new capabilities, I look forward to providing better service to the community and better reporting to the board. The next technology project that we will tackle is the installation of a new VoIP phone system. This phone system gives us all the features of our current system, but does not require the use of on-site hardware. This means that we will not have to spend the $16,000 that was budgeted in 2024 for new hardware. The transition to the new system should be accomplished without any downtime, but when we have a confirmed date, we'll announce it to the community so that if there is a hiccup, they will know. Capital project updates. Culvert 315, bids were received from contractors on 4/7 and will be presented to the board tonight for a recommended contract award. SVCA requested quotes from 8 contractors and received 4 bids. This project is expected to start in September, assuming delivery of the box culvert can be scheduled. Otherwise, this project will have to push out to summer of '24. Once the contract is executed, SVCA will receive a final schedule from the contractor. Barn 8 siding and covered bridge replacement. The project was submitted to Whatcom County for permit review on 2/7. It is expected to go out for bid this spring with construction starting in September after the pool closes. And this is a change in schedule to those of you who've been following it. Design for replacing the covered bridge is ongoing, and it is being submitted as a separate project for permit review by Whatcom County. As another side note, in February, Whatcom County Permitting Department released a letter telling everyone, the community at large, that they were very behind due to many openings on their staff. Well, we've seen that come true on all of these projects. The permitting process is a necessary and important part of these capital projects, and it's slowed every single one of them down pretty significantly. To continue the maintenance shop remodel, the design was complete and was submitted to county for permit on 2/27. It is expected still to go out for bid this spring with construction starting this summer. The Marina Boat Launch Dock, we received a shorelines permit from the county, which is a major step. Design has been completed and the building permit application was submitted on schedule to the county on 3/30. The project will go out for bid this spring with construction proposed this summer once the permits are issued. The playground ADA improvements, bids were received from contractors on 4/7 and will be presented to the board tonight for a recommended contract award. We requested quotes from 8 contractors and received 4 bids. Construction will happen this summer. Once the contract is executed, we'll receive a final schedule from the contractor and we'll share that with this group. The Austin Creek repair, design and permitting is ongoing. We've learned that the project requires a shorelines permit in addition to others, and because of this requirement, construction is now expected to occur in 2024. Cold Spring drainage repair, design and permitting still underway. We expect it to be completed soon with construction to follow this summer. 2023 culvert cleaning. The cleaning of culverts began in February on the 20th and is expected to be complete by the end of April. Progress has been better than expected. We didn't quite know going into it how hard it would be, but we're actually ahead of our estimates, which is very, very encouraging. The 10-year capital roads and drainage improvement plan, Impact Design, as you know, was the awarded engineer for completing the 10-year plan. Road and drainage evaluation started in February on the 20th and will be completed in May. The final updated plan is scheduled to be received by October. In a check-in earlier this month with Scott at Impact Design, he shared that his estimates are right on track for the amount of time that it needed for the inspections. So that is another good indicator that we will be able to bring that project in on budget and on schedule. The core area tennis court resurfacing, design and permitting, again, expected to be complete this summer with construction proposed for September, that early fall time period. And side note on the tennis courts, since we've made the announcement that they're being resurfaced, I've had more than a dozen people either come into the office or email me that they're so pleased to see that happening, and also pleased to know that we'll be lining the courts and making it possible to play pickleball on those courts. So there is a real, for every one person that comes in, there's probably 9 or 10 who are just thinking it. So we're really pleased that we're doing something that the community will value and get some use out of. For the Marina Docks replacement, the preliminary design is nearing completion and the engineer's estimate is being finalized. And remember, we're doing this in advance to make sure that we can adjust the reserve study estimate for that very complicated project. And we're expecting that engineer's estimate to be finalized by the end of April. The rest of the general manager's report includes exciting departmental updates. I encourage everyone to read it. We'll post it to the website tomorrow. Thank you.
Could I ask a question? On the culvert cleaning, how, they cleaned the culvert out between one side of the little, I'm on Western Lane, Dawnbreak Court goes in there, so they cleaned that out. So now that's draining. It never has before. But what it created was about a 2 by 3 foot hole in the culvert in front of my house. That's just a lake. It just sits there until it fills up and then it trickles down. And I saw the guy from Strimler and he said they were gonna dig out on one side and make it so it was better away from the mailboxes. But he said going on down to the creek that wasn't scheduled to do anything with.
So everyone who sees standing water should report that to the front office. So you can call or email through the website, or you can just email office@Sudden Valley. You don't have to go through the website.
Okay.
Or just call. And all of those requests are being forwarded to maintenance, who's collating them. And maintenance is going around to document the standing water and not only share it with Impact Design, but also to take mitigating action as soon as possible. We discovered with some of the culverts being cleared out that the culvert actually empties into a ditch that is now filled to above the level of the culvert.
Okay.
And so we're compiling a long list of ditches that need to be dug out and cleaned out. And we're being very, very proactive about it. So if you have an active problem, which is represented by standing water or water flowing over a road or a driveway, please do report that. It'll get on the list and we'll just work down the list.
Okay.
Just wondering if they're calling in, is there someone they should ask for specifically or?
They don't have to speak to me directly, but they can. If people call in, just say, I want to report standing water and the address, and that's it.
Thanks, Joanne.
I have a couple questions of different things that are on your report. The card reader access, you didn't mention the quiet pool. I assume that was just an oversight or that's been included over there by the library.
Yeah, it's grouped in with the library.
The other thing is you'd mentioned you're getting the new phone system. Did we fund that or is it just something that comes with the new stuff that we've had installed?
It has been funded. One of the first capital requests I brought to the board was to approve a new contract with Comcast for internet access and a new VoIP system. And they finally installed the cable. They had to drill sideways under the road and under the parking lot. It was quite fascinating to watch, actually. And we're working now with Comcast to schedule the installation of internet and to do the transition to the new phone system. It's quite complex as a project, but it's going to save us a ton of money in the long run.
Yeah, it's basically operations and it has to do with the money we pay the Comcast every month, correct?
Yes, Linda.
Okay. Then I have one last question. With the Marina Docks replacement, who's the engineer that's doing the design?
I should know the name. I just am spacing on it. I can respond.
Send me an email.
I'll
I
do
just
that.
wondered who it was.
I will do that.
Thank you. That's all.
Mhm. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to new business. The first item is the discussion of the monthly metrics. So this is something we're gonna bring forward to start to discuss what sort of metrics we're gonna see in the general manager's report. So I guess I don't really know where to begin on this.
Well, would it help if I summarized what's been shared?
Sure.
So, kind of to kick off the discussion, Linda shared with the board a report that had been distributed in 2018. And it includes metrics, sort of overall metrics, but then specific metrics for each department. I did some research into that report, and it took quite a bit of time to prepare. And some of these metrics are easily available in our system, and many of them are not. Many of them required sort of tallies to be kept. And so I don't know if all of these things were being requested, Linda, or if you had just shared this as a way to start the discussion.
Just a way to start the discussion.
Awesome. So I don't know if anyone has had a chance to review that, but that's out there. And then also shared with the board was an example that was put together by Sonia, which is a more modern graphic presentation, like you would see in a business intelligence package or like a Tableau, for example. Many people are familiar with Tableau or Power BI. It also includes a significant number of indicators for the association. But it's a little more brief and focused on financials first and foremost, and then a smaller number of individual departmental metrics. That was also an example. I dug out an example from when Glenn Akramoff was the interim GM, and Glenn put together a more, it's kind of a hybrid. It's visual in some parts of it, but it's also mainly bullet points shared by the departments and organized by department. It includes such things as the dues collection rate, staffing levels, golf revenue. It's far less comprehensive than the other two examples, but I thought from a visual perspective, it offered a nice hybrid approach. That's what we've got so far.
Right, well, I guess where do we want to begin on stuff?
So obviously, yeah, I put the thing together with the financials, and then once I kind of thought about it, because I was thinking more like the monthly metrics, right? That the board is looking for, not just necessarily from the GM, but that financial almost, well, actually everything in there related to financials. Even though they're sometimes they're in charts and tables, Joel actually does report on those. So if we decide that we prefer like that type of layout, we just need to request that, he converts those, whatever those KPIs are into, some charts, or, if it makes it a little easier. It's just, that's really all it is it's that at a glance dashboard that makes it real easy. But yeah, those were really meant just in general.
One of the thoughts that I had when I was listening to Joel walk us through the financial reports last meeting was that he sort of jots down comparisons to last year for key metrics and pulls those out and highlights them. And if I go back over the last few presentations that he's made, it actually provides a nice set of the things that are typically called out and compared to each other. So that's a place that I could go to put together a little draft, and it's similar to what you have, but he has a different way of looking at some things. So if people like his highlights, that might be another direction to go.
I think what's
Yeah.
really important too is that this is not, when it's a general manager's report, you shouldn't be having to run around and do all of this. I think we all need to understand that you need to get, or we need to ask the department heads to provide you with the information so you can pop it in. I don't think it's meant to put any more workload on you. It's getting the community to have the information, but the department heads should have all that information quite easily, or most of it fairly easily, to provide to you and put that into those metrics. So I don't want to put it all on you either.
Yeah, maybe this should wait until Joanne has a assistant. Like a, what were you going to call it?
Oh, a chief of staff.
A chief of staff. Otherwise, we're likely to have Joanne doing reports instead of doing managing. I'm afraid of overloading her.
Well, I think it's absolutely appropriate for us to talk through what it's important to measure, and then to be a little bit patient about setting up the systems that can efficiently and accurately relay that information to the board. But discussing what's important to monitor, I think this is exactly the right time. Some of the metrics that were in these earlier reports relied on hand tallies. And I can't think of a worse way to collect a performance metric. In the old admin office in the clubhouse, there's a counter right by the window, and there's a device there that you're supposed to hit every time you serve a customer. And it at first I didn't know what it was, but then someone explained it to me. Mike Brock, our wonderful maintenance superintendent, provides a quarterly report, and he has charts and graphs, and it's very informative. And I appreciate his efforts. He keeps all of that in an Excel spreadsheet that he updates every single day. So I know that I've been slow to implement some of these systems, but that ticketing system will change all that, because it literally will count automatically anything that's submitted through the website. And since that's the way that we'll get things done, in order for any request or complaint or any other document to be processed, it would have to be entered into that system. So by default, to get something done, you have to count it or provide a mechanism. I think that in that scenario, we'll have much better reporting. But again, discussing what we should be counting is very helpful.
Well, Linda,
I think the financials are fine. I don't think we need, I think we just need like current month and then a month back. If you're talking about a monthly report. I'd like to see FTEs, and not just FTEs, but also the number of people in the departments. I think in that example I showed you, there were two really good examples of how they did that, just one above the other. And it kind of shows how during the spring and summer months, we do a bell curve.
Right.
And it really shows up nicely, but it also, I think, and I don't know if that had to do with Joel, but it also showed how our payroll adjusted accordingly. And those were nice reports. Know that that report from back in 2018, we had far more staff. We had staff doing it we had in-house HR. And I think every month, all of them were expected to turn in their portion of that report. But it's just, I'd love to see more about our staff and stuff, because it lets us know where we are with maintenance, with rec, lifeguards, that sort of thing. But to me, that's important. The financials, I think Joel has, like you say, has done a lot of even that older report that you looked at besides the dashboard. But, the financials, you know, month to month. I think he does a really good job of handling that. And I like the idea where you talk about, he refers back to the prior year.
Thank you.
Can I comment on the FTEs? There's a problem. The issue with reporting FTEs monthly, it's deceptive because most people don't understand what that calculation is. It's different than the head count. And so what we've seen, at least I've personally seen, is a lot of people in the community, they'll say, you're supposed to have this many FTEs. And, you know, so it's really, that's how our managers calculate the number of hours, you know, that they're putting into certain things. What's really relevant to our budget, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I think on a monthly basis, it becomes really cumbersome and confusing. It might be something to consider maybe quarterly, you know, to give the head count and the FTE, something like that. Or the head count actually could be monthly and the FTE be quarterly. That would be a little more, you know, easier to track and makes sense to correlate with what's really going on.
That's a good point. I wouldn't mind that as long as it's something that shows, you know, what our departments are doing and how they're coming up and down and how it affects our payroll.
And as I'm understanding these requests, I'm not sure how we would do it, but we also purchase a great amount of services externally. As you noted, we don't have in-house HR, but we do have a consultant who spends 4 hours each week focusing on us and is available for consultation. So those hours and services should also be understood and recognized as contributing to value that's delivered to the community.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of look, I guess for myself, kind of looking through, just like the bullet point list that Sonia had sent over. I think a lot of the stuff is pretty relevant and useful. I think I don't really have a ton to add to like that list, and along with some of the other things, I do think like a visual format certainly is nice. We have to read through like a lot of paper sometimes and documents and reports and things. So sometimes it's nice to just have like a visual snapshot and overview of things. So I could see where that would be useful. I think maybe one thing that could be that I'm not seeing, and I don't know if it would be helpful or not, but if we had like a list or an ongoing list of like the contracts that we have with people, maybe, and that would cover what you were talking about, like that can summarize like how these external services that we're procuring for all the various different things.
Got it.
Stu?
When it comes